Hey, good morning, class. I am now going to talk about the East and West influences on the self. So, cultures around the world can be categorized by two main labels, the West and the East. So, we have two cultures, the Eastern and Western culture. There is a huge difference between them in terms of the self. So, people um, are being distinguished about themselves in terms of their culture. So, if you're in the West, the self is the center, but in the East, the self is part of the group. So, we as Filipinos are part of the Eastern culture. In our culture in the East, so that includes Filipinos, Chinese, Indian, we have a lot of religious beliefs, respect in seniority and luck. While because the West values individualism, they value enterprise and hard work. If we become successful here in the East, we attribute it to good luck. But in the West, when they become successful, it's because they worked hard for it. So these are just the distinction between the Western and Eastern cultures and the way they perceive the self. In the Western part, the self is a social construction which is symbolically and signally created between and among social beings. Phenomenological object which can be productively studied through a series of evanescent action, and self is multidimensional in entity. The self takes form in communication. Self is intimately connected to bodily experience, both ontogenetically and here and now awareness. Self is both phenomenal and non phenomenal. Self acquires substance according to semantic, the syntactic, and pragmatic. So that means the self is experienced by the individual alone. And the awareness, the belief that the self or the individual is only dependent to himself, not to some other attributes, not to some other causes, um, reinforces the belief that they are indeed individualistic in nature. In Eastern, we are collectivist. So the Eastern perspective of the self is defined as a gentleman by following the moral way consisting of virtues of love, righteousness, wisdom, propriety, and loyalty in order to promote harmony in society. So we are collectivist, we are part of the group. Detachment and lack of desire to reach nirvana. Reciprocal relationship, compassion to other humans for belief that we are part of the same ever changing. So in the Eastern, we believe that we are part of the group, we are part of the society, and as a family. Attainment of liberation in the identification of Atman essence of all individual human and Brahman essence of the universe. These are actually very Indian beliefs. The concept of kapwa recognition of shared identity, the two levels or modes of social interaction, the ibang tao or outsider, and hindi ibang tao or one of us. And these are actually um, Filipino moral beliefs. The West is individualistic because they are autonomous and independent from the in groups. They give priority to their personal goals or their in groups, and they behave on the basis of attitudes. In the collectivist culture, in our culture, we are interdependent from the in groups. We give priority to the goals of the in group. The in group is actually what influences us. In group shape behavior, behave in accordance to the norm, and highly concerned in relationship with others, the kapwa. So, about your midterm project, please disregard this. Um, this is not included. Although after the physical self, we will have an activity. So the quiz will be after the midterms. Let's go now to the physical self. So understanding the physical self, this is the part of the self which is interacting with the world and other people. This is the part of ourselves that we can see. There are many theories in psychology that can explain the physical self. Number one, William James, the body is the source of sensation and origin of personality because we have senses, and the senses makes us living. When we sense, it makes us human. Sigmund Freud, Freud is the body of the core, is the core of the human experience. Wilhelm Reich, the mind and the body are one. Eric Erikson, the body is critical in the sense of self of a person. Of course, um, the self would have something like a vessel. So it should be the self. I mean the physical self. Carl Jung, the physical body and external world can be known as the psychological experiences. So we can study mind behavior by observing um, the physical aspects of the self. And B.F. Skinner, a behaviorist, stresses how the body can be influenced by the environment and vice versa. Self esteem. Societies and culture around the world has always kept different standards of physical attractiveness and also certain obligations. So for us, when a person is attractive, we equate that to higher self esteem. Body ornaments are heavily used to improve the appearance to make one more pleasing. This includes body painting, tattooing, jewelry, and also surgery. People all over the world in different cultures would enhance their physical attractiveness by putting on tattoos, jewelries, body painting, and even surgery. Our perception of our physical body could influence our sense of self esteem. So there are three kinds of self-esteem: the inflated, the high, the low. Inflated self-esteem is not healthy because this means that you are very proud. A high self-esteem is okay, and a low self-esteem would breed depression. So this is a photo. These are photos of the same woman in different appearances and in different cultures. Nonetheless, whatever her culture, she seemed to be attractive. So these are the different beauty around the world. We have the long-necked women of Burma. The Kayan long-necked women began wearing the rings as early as 4 or 5 years old. The rings can weigh up to 25 pounds. Again, this is part of their beauty ritual. Filipinos want people who have white complexion, so that explains the high sales of whitening products. I Because we are influenced by, the West and now by the Koreans because they have very fair skin. Stretched earlobes and shaved head in Kenya and other parts of Africa makes a woman attractive. The Maori men and women in New Zealand sports a tattoo, and Indian women accessorize themselves with henna during special occasions. Au naturel for the French, meaning they go for natural beauty. They hardly put on makeup, they would just put powder and lipstick, and that is because they already have beautiful features. The media has become increasingly a platform that reinforces cultural beliefs and projects strong views on how we should look at that as individuals consciously and unconsciously perpetuate. Example, the celebrities' facial features. People who live and dwell on social media become so engrossed and obsessed that sometimes they would go to lengths as copying. They want to be like their idols, and sometimes we cannot be like them, and that can be depressing. The more we look at perfect images of others and then compare it to us, we feel bad to ourselves. And you don't know that those images can be, Photoshop. They're not really real. And in some cases, some people develop negative body image because they would compare themselves to the celebrities and influencers that they see in social media. So they would, to become like their idols, they would do extreme dieting, extreme exercise, eating. They would develop eating disorders. They would go to lengths as having extreme or unnecessary plastic surgery. Or for the males, they would drink steroids for muscle building. So that ends the meeting now. Tomorrow I will start uploading the midterm exam. It will be available until Tuesday, but be sure to have a stable internet connection when you take it. Also, um, the coverage of the midterm exam is from the philosophical perspective up to the physical self. So good luck, class.